Hey everybody, this is In the Mix with Sister Johnny. I know it's been a very long time since I actually did a video post, and I do want to apologize for that. There's actually no excuse for me not doing a video post. I haven't done a minute of praise in a very long time, and for those few subscribers that I do have on YouTube, when I launched out and started doing it and I kind of pulled back, I want to apologize because I haven't posted there either in a long time. And there's really no other excuse that I have other than I've just been doing life. I started a new job and I just began to just do life. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you going to work, you coming home, you commute, you're dealing with your family and dealing with other projects, and you just kind of go to bed. Can I just keep it real? I mean, I don't have no other excuse other than that. What I can say is that I'm going to make every effort to do better. Okay, because people have been reaching out to me. They're like, Sister Johnny, I done told people about your podcast. Girl, where are you at? You just left. And I want to apologize. But like I said, I am going to do better. Today is going to be a little bit different. I want to do something a little bit different. There's been some things that's on my heart, and I want to talk about it. I've been looking all over YouTube, and I know people talk about all kind of things. And then sometimes, you know how you hear people having these interviews and you're like, ask this question. And then they don't ask the question. And you be like, dang, if I was doing an interview, I would ask this question. It's always like that. So I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. And, I was trying to do something grandioso, but my budget was saying, girl, you ain't ready to do nothing grandioso. And my different friends and people I knew was like, Johnny, this podcast, just pop up anywhere and do it. You can do it from your car, you can do it outside. It doesn't even matter. If your content is what people want to hear, then who cares? And I was like, you know what, who does care? You know what, there you go. So here I am. So anyway, today I want to talk about what's happening to us as human beings. I want to talk about humanity. I want to talk about, where are we going as Americans? And I say that as a woman of color, Black woman, African American, Negro. I don't know what y'all call us now, but I know who I am. As a woman of color that lives in America, I just wonder, who are we? What do we stand for? What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to be a citizen of these United States? I don't even know. I feel like whenever there's a big event, a big topic, a hot topic, everybody that's in media, everybody that's blogging, whatever, they all jump on that topic, and then they stay there for a minute until something else happened, and they stay on that, and then they move. But we still haven't dealt with the underlying issue. And the topic that I'm talking about today is the mass shootings, the killings, the anger, the hostility that people have today. We feel it everywhere. I want to talk about what's happening to our planet. I don't know if we're really paying attention, because it seems like we're in an era where people are just self-consumed. They're consumed with their own lives, consumed with their own issues, consumed with coming up, getting the bag, and just I feel like we're in a place now where people only care about what's beneficial for them, and that could be very dangerous. The Bible talks about in the last days how we were going to increase in knowledge, and also how lawlessness will begin to abound. And I feel like we're there. We're not fully immersed in the lawlessness, but it's coming, and we can feel it's at the cusp. We have leadership in this nation that is keeping people divided. It's made a domino effect all the way down to the working class people, which I call the frontline workers. We already had a racial divide going on here in the United States, but it's grown significantly. I also see, living here in the Bay Area in California, is so expensive to live here. The homeless crisis. It's a homeless epidemic and crisis going on in California. And I don't even think people are really, really talking about it. But from Northern California to Southern California, people are struggling. I mean, I hear people talk about the middle class, and I'm like, I consider myself and people, peers of mine, I consider us to be middle class. But I'm going to tell you what middle class looks like. Middle class is the working poor. I say that because the middle class, they're in the middle. They're working. They're making, on paper, it looks like a lot of money. But living here in the Bay Area, if you lose one income or you lose your job, you're basically getting ready to live outside. No joke. There are people that's living in California that are working 9 to 5 jobs, more than one job, and they live in their car. I have family members that live in they're homeless. They live in their car. They live, in vans. Or it's gotten so bad. They announced on the news, and you can Google it, that some people are making like makeshift barges and living on the water. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. So we're dealing with the homeless crisis, mass exodus from California, and then people are moving to California, but a lot of them are from other countries, are from other states, because the cost of living is expensive, but the pay is really high. But when you get here, it's just, you realize it's a struggle. Unless you're making, like, your household is bringing in $400,000 plus a year. I don't know what, how you making it. That's really what's going on here. And then the people that are in the middle class, or the people that are, making a decent income. I'm talking about police officers. I'm talking about teachers. I mean, in the peninsula, it's gotten so bad that they're having a hard time finding teachers, educators. I'm talking about police officers, because they can't afford to live there, and they have to commute so far to come in. Most of the people don't even live there. And that they're finding a hard time filling jobs that are necessary, that we need. Our service employees, they can't afford to live there, so they're having a hard time finding people. Your favorite destinations like Napa, people love going to Napa, but let me tell you, the service employees that are there, they're having a hard time finding waitresses, cooks, chefs. Why? Because they can't afford to live there, and the wages that they're paying is not enough for them to make it. And so most of them people are traveling, an hour or 2 hours in to work there. So it's not worth it. So they have a high turnover rate, and it's a crisis that's brewing, but I don't think we're really paying attention. A lot of economists are talking about the economic crisis that's coming. It's not a surprise to myself and in the Christian community, because earlier this year I said the Lord was opening up a door of opportunity to bless a lot of people. Prayers that you have been praying years ago are being answered now. And I was saying to use wisdom during this time, because once that door closes, you had to have been a good steward over what the Lord has given you, because a time is coming where we're not going to be in the land of plenty. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? So economists are even saying, hey, it's coming. So that was confirmation. The other thing that's happening is we see what's going on with the Amazon. Now, in the Amazon forest, there's been the burning of the forest and all of that. That's been going on. But it's made national news and headlines because it's now grown to a massive scale until it's at a dangerous level of abuse, where now it's burning out of control. You can Google it. Where it's unbelievable how greed is taking over. And so we see this is happening in nature. We're not taking care of our environment that we live in, and we don't respect the earth. And we look at our food. A lot of people may not be paying attention to it, but because of all the rains and all the flooding and the weather phenomena that is happening, it's affecting crops. We don't see the effect now, but if you go to the store, you see the prices of food is slowly going up. And then you see, even with the meat, you see fillers. When you're in the retail business, you do they do like dummy fills. So if they don't have all the meat or all the items to fill up a case, they'll put other things in there to kind of fill it up and make it look like there's an abundance, but there's not. I mean, I need you to pay attention. There's more and more processed food aisles. They've created some meats that's not even legit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some things going on in our food chain. There's more and more fruit that's on the market that doesn't have any seed. Now, we know the thing that classifies a fruit as a fruit is that it has a seed. Well, how is it that you're selling fruit with no seeds? No one's paying attention. It's like the things we need to pay attention to, no one's really paying attention. And so this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, us, as a human race. Are we going to wait until we get into a crisis mode to figure out, oh my God, what are we going to do? By then it's too late. I was thinking about the violence, and I heard on CNN, I believe it was CNN, it was a major news network one day recently. There was a gentleman being interviewed, and they asked him about, the gun laws and the gun violence. It was right after all of these mass shootings, one by one was taking place. And then they did a blurb about Chicago. And it's like Chicago's been having an issue. Just like Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water. These are issues that's been going on, but nobody's doing anything. And so, and what I mean by nobody, I mean by the politicians, the mayor, the city councilman, all the way up. How do you not have clean drinking water? I live in a very affluent community in California, and let me tell you, if there's no clean drinking water, all hell, do you hear me? All hell will break out. So how is it possible that it's still no clean water over there? Things to think about. But anyway, going back to the gun violence question. So they asked him about the gun violence. And what I like what this guy said, and I don't even know his name, but he said, I don't think it's just the guns, and I don't think it's just mental illness. Because the question is, now what's being spun is, oh, it's mental illness. Let me tell you, the mass majority of the people that's doing these mass shootings, they haven't been diagnosed with any kind of mental illness. Do you understand what I'm saying? The people that's going into their jobs and just shooting up people, they haven't been diagnosed with any kind of mental illness. In fact, when they had a shooting at I think it's UPS a couple years ago in San Francisco, they said this man was quiet. He didn't give them no problems. He came to work. He did his job. He didn't bother anybody. But he got so pissed and angry and came and shot everybody up because he was working mandatory overtime and he was tired. He didn't want to do it anymore, and he probably was burnt. If you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep, you can't function. And he probably had his own little personal issues that nobody at work even knew anything about. He snapped. There was another incident, countless incidents where people have even gone on their job and started blasting everybody. There was one guy said he helped in the community. He was just such a wonderful person. Everything like that. Man went into a meeting, came out of the meeting, went to his car, came back and was blasting. Premeditated. They end up killing him. So the question is, you might say, well, okay, well, Sister Johnny, where are you going with this? Here's where I'm going with this. There's a bigger issue brewing that no one's talking about. How is it most recently out here in California, they had some person just shooting on the freeway. Just shooting on the freeway. Every now and then they'll pop up and then it'll stop and then it'll come back. Just shooting random people on the freeway all hours of the night. There was no particular schedule. At first they thought it was just at night, then it was doing it during the day. It was just all different times. So people driving on the freeway and don't even know. We're living in a day and time where people get up and they go to work to provide for their families and their households and literally don't know if they're coming back, because people are so on the edge. And so this reporter said, because the politicians are trying to spin this, it's a political year, election year next year. So right now the politicians are trying to spin this that and trying to say that basically we need to have stronger gun laws. Now, I'm against violence. I'm not with, I've had, in my family, there's been violence with guns. Family members have been shot and killed. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not for any kind of gun violence. I come from the old school where you will fight. You might win some fights. You might lose some fights, but you live. You fight, but you live another day. You might make up with that person. But nobody fights anymore, right? That's not even going to happen. So if you get into it with somebody, there's no fighting. And if you win, be careful, right? That's where we're at. So he said in this question, he said, I don't believe that that's the answer. Because like I said, all these people that was doing these mass shootings, majority of the ones, they didn't have no mental illness, at least diagnosed, right? There's just angry white men for the most part, but then there's also different nationalities that's snapping too. So the question is, why is that happening? Why on earth are so many people just seemingly losing it? And these are people that, they really haven't caused any problems, and people say they were just a nice person. We didn't see it coming. This is what I'm thinking. This is a thought, but this is what he said. I'm piggybacking off of him, and this is what made me think about this. The reporters asked him, well, what do you think it is if it's not that? He said, well, I am a person of faith and I believe in God. And I think that we've gotten away from God. We've gotten away from prayer. We've gotten away from believing in something greater than ourselves. I believe that too. I'm not saying that, I know a lot of people have different faiths or whatever. I'm just saying, for a person to be on this earth that's spinning out in space, which we don't even know where this earth is spinning towards. It's just dangling in space, spinning around. For you to not believe that something greater than yourself created all this and still allowing us to exist is beyond me. Now, I'm not saying that you might say, well, Sister Johnny, I don't believe that. And that's fine. Don't come after me. This is what I believe. As a woman of color, born and raised in these United States, the only thing that I can do to get through the discrimination and the hatred towards people of my tribe and my color was to pray to God. And by me doing that, I have had so many prayers answered. So no one can tell me that God isn't real, just for me. And so I would have to agree with him when he said, I believe, this is just my opinion, we've gotten away from God. And to rely on ourselves as human beings is a very dangerous thing to do, right? So that's one thing he said. He said, but I don't think it's just one thing. He said, I think it's multiple things. It's, dynamics in our family. A lot of people are from dysfunctional families. The homes are broken. I myself came from a dysfunctional family. As you're watching this, you may have came from a dysfunctional family, and we survived it, and we're still out here living, but so many people are broken. Do you know what I'm saying? Then we have social media. He said, then we have social media where people, it's called social media, but no one's social. I'm guilty of that. Texting people. People, I get upset at people when I call them and then they respond with a text. And then I ask them to call me and not respond with a text, and they still respond with a text. Well, then eventually I just kind of wash my hands of them because I don't have time for that, right? I'm a grown woman. But then God had to convict me and said, well, Johnny, you do the same thing. Why? Because it's easier to not deal with people, especially if you're doing your own thing and you got your own life. Let me send you a text and then you forget and move on and you're doing your own thing. And see, that's not okay. So what he was saying is we have social media, but we're no longer social. We no longer know how to socially interact with one another. I remember going to the store and we would like talk to each other. Or I know they're strangers and it can be really weird now, but back in the day we used to be like, how you doing? Have little conversations, help each other. If you see an elderly person, help them and they not be afraid of you. They didn't feel like you was going to rob them. I mean, a senior citizen. It's just, we're losing, I feel like, our core. Does that make sense? We're losing the essence of who we are. And I would have to agree with him. Then he talked about, the respect. I'm from a generation where respect is everything. A relative and I were talking some years back about it. We are from a generation that respect is everything. Even on the street, we had a code of respect. The OGs in the community. Now, I'm not saying it's okay, but it was some dirt going on in the community. Y'all folks that know that's not too bougie and not too high-minded now, and you so holy. But it was almost an accident right there. But it was almost an accident. Sorry, you guys. So on the street, you respected the OGs. Not today. These youngsters like, no, you're going to respect me. I don't have no respect for the OG. Or even like with music. I see the musicians. I'm not a musician per se. I used to play the first clarinet or whatever, but I'm not doing it anymore. But I understand. You pay homage to the people that came before you. All the other generations did that. This generation, not so much. So respect for my generation was huge. Respecting your elders, respecting your leadership, even your people that you work for. I mean, respecting your direct reports. Even if you're in management and you're in leadership, that doesn't mean that you can abuse your power and authority. You still have to respect that individual as a human being. I don't know. I just feel like we've not lost it, but we're losing the essence of who we are as human beings. And that's very scary. You know what I mean? And so I would have to agree with him. So I think, it's a mixture of things. He said it's not one error or one thing. It's multiple things that's causing this to happen. And as a result, people are breaking down. And I was thinking about just being here in the Bay Area. I told you how expensive it is to live here. It's so expensive that people that we consider to be middle class or have middle income, they literally, some people are commuting 2 to 4 hours one way to get to work. I know that seems extreme, but it's the truth. People are commuting one way 2 hours to get to work, going back 2 hours. Don't let it be a holiday or accident. It could be worse than that. They're working at a job 8 to 10 hours a day. And they're on the road 2 to 4 hours out of the 24 hours. So if you take 10 hours working, if they're working any kind of overtime, plus 4 hours, 14 hours out of 24 hours, then you have to sleep. You don't really have time to do anything. So, but these people have lives. We all have lives. So outside of work, if you have a family you have to take care of, you have kids you have to pick up, you have to cook, they have things to do. If you're married, there's some wifely and husband duties you got to do. I mean, it's just a lot going on. And then if you have problems and issues in your personal life, it can be a lot. So when these people get on the road and they're on their way to work and they've already commuted 2 hours to get to work, or sometimes people are homeless and they still are working, or sometimes, things have happened in their family, deaths or whatever, people still got to go to work. So by the time they get to work, they're already stressed. They're already stressed. So it doesn't help if you're a manager and you're going through the same thing and you get to work, you're stressed, and then you add more stress on your direct reports. That can be a problem. So we have to begin to look at how we interface with one another, because it's becoming a huge problem. People are literally walking around on edge, and even driving on the freeway. You know, driving on the freeway, or you call it highway or whatever, or the expressway. Out here we call it the freeway. Driving on the freeway can be dangerous. Like, you have to be completely alert and in defensive mode when you drive. You have to drive defensively, because you're driving for yourself. You're driving for the person on the side, the people on the side of you that may be sleepy. They haven't gotten an adequate amount of sleep. They probably just went to sleep, maybe had 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep, and they're back on the road. So they're sleep deprived. So their sleep, my husband had to bring that to my attention. Some of them are sleeping. I've seen people shaving. I've seen people putting on makeup. I've seen people brushing their teeth, combing their hair. Then you have motorcyclists that are weaving in and out. You have people that are just on their phone, texting, doing videos. Do you understand? You're driving you're like this, driving defensively for 2 hours, up to 2 hours. And then you get to work and your boss is yelling at you, or you can't even get settled, and people are bum rushing you with all these different issues. And so you have to be more mindful of how you're treating people today. We're not living in a day and time back in the day when my mother and my father and my grandparents were working, where you went to work and your boss said whatever to you and you just let it slide off you like water off a duck's back, and you kept it moving. No. We're dealing with a time now where people don't know how to handle conflict. They don't know how to deal with that, because no one's social anymore. No one knows how to deal with conflict. You know, we're living in a time now where, you know, it's a sensitive era. Like, words can hurt people. Do you understand? I grew up, they said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, we know words do hurt. Okay, let's just keep it real. A lot of us are adults and we're hurt from what people have said. So words do hurt. But what I'm trying to say is, people from my generation and the generation before me, it's all kind of words that people have said to us, and it didn't make us want to react and hurt anyone. Do you understand? We may have fought you, and some of the people you had a fight with, you end up being friends with, but you don't want to shoot them and hurt and like take their life. You're living in a day now where people can't handle that, so they don't know how to fight. They're not going to fight. So what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to go talk to their employer, because they're fearful that you may retaliate, and maybe months down the road you start picking on them, and this is their only livelihood, and you don't know their financial situation. So if they feel like they're threatened and they may lose their job, and this is all they know, and they don't know how to do anything else. I'm black. Most black people, we know how to survive. We were born in this country fighting for everything. We came up out of the womb fighting to live. So we know how to survive. But a lot of people don't know how to do that. So they respond and feel like it's the end of the world. And, you know, they respond in a way that none of us can accept. Right? So what is the takeaway? The takeaway today is, because they asked him, okay, these are all the problems. It could be, it's a melting pot of problems that's causing, it's not one particular thing, which I agree with. But then it's like, okay, well, what's the solution? He said, I don't know. He said, that's a good question. I think we're all searching for the solution. He said, I think we can begin with, love, I think is what his response was. And I've been hearing love for a long time. I don't think we know how to love each other. From a spiritual standpoint, if you don't believe in God, and God is love, then how can you love? If a lot of us came from dysfunctional families and had not really experienced real love in a pure way, okay? Because some people have been abused, and I mean, the love you're talking about, it could be weird for a lot of people. Do you know what I'm talking about? So the question is, what does healthy love look like? How do we begin to love people in a healthy, mature, pure way? How do we begin to treat one another? I feel like respect is where to start. Now, you might say, well, that's your opinion, and it could be. But I feel like if we don't have just the common courtesy from one another, I mean, even driving on the freeway, people are merging on the freeway. Why can't you slow down and merge over and let them in? Why do we have to speed up and slow? I've even been guilty of that. It's like I catch myself. If I'm able to stop in time without causing an accident, I'll let that person in. It's not going to hurt me. Going to the gas station today, I handed the person my credit card, and they put it on the table, on the counter. And I said, are you done with that? And then he was like, yes. And he handed it to me. And I was just thinking, okay, if you don't know, you don't know. But if someone hands you something, hand it back to them. Or just basics. Like if somebody says thank you, say you're welcome. You know, I hear a lot of, okay. No, that's not how you respond. You're supposed to respond with you're welcome. Or thank you. I even had a few of my friends, did you say thank you? And I always say thank you, but you get so caught up that you forget the basics. Thank you. Thank you. Show gratitude and respect to one another. It's not hard to do. I don't know if I mentioned God. I'm pretty sure I did. I mean, but God is love. How could you not go to God and receive the love of God so you can know how to love other people, you know? And I'm not saying that you have to love people and hang with, because there's people that even in my family that have dogged me, and I have, tried to be there. And then you just get to a point where, you know what, I can love you, but that doesn't mean I have to be around you, and I'm not tolerating abuse from anyone, and you shouldn't either. So this is where I draw the line. I'm not going to allow you to abuse me in any way, verbally, or disrespect me. Because remember, I'm from an era of respect. I can't allow you to do that. So I hope I wasn't rambling. I hope this, I think the takeaway again is, where do we start? What do you guys think? Do you think we're losing a part of who we are as human beings? Common courtesy is out the door. Integrity, values, moral values. Are we morally declining? Are we parenting anymore? Are we guiding our children? Even though they may want to do whatever, but we say, this is not the time for you to do that right now. I think it's great that you have these great ideas to do this and to do that, but not right now. Right now, focus on this, write this down and do that, and encourage them in that way. Are we parenting anymore? Are we just letting our kids do whatever? I don't know. What do you guys think? I know this was a little different, but it's on my heart. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. This is In the Mix with Sister Johnny, and I'm still praying. Are you?